Hi ladies and gents, and welcome to this week's Thursday Thoughts. I'm really pleased when a plan comes together. It seems that everything is working and all the channels are streaming, and I see that there's a stack of you on our website, etc. So welcome to this week's Thursday Thoughts. So I do have a couple of housekeeping type things that I just want to say. You might be able to hear in the background we've got some rumbling going on, and that is going on because we've just had an air conditioning unit fitted into my shack. That's because if you attended our live lesson earlier in the week, it was very warm, and it is still continues to be very warm here in the UK, and I'm not complaining about the heat, by the way, and it is super hot here, and my little shack gets really hot. So what I've done is we've had a little air conditioning unit put in place. Now if it's interfering with the sound too much, then let me know and I can switch it off, and I will suffer for you. But otherwise I'm going to continue on in the nice cool office here right now. If I'm looking a little red-eyed, it's because I was up early this morning talking to somebody in Australia, so please forgive me if I look like I've done 10 rounds with Mike Tyson. Just trust me, I was up nice and early this morning. So I just wanted to say, before I forget, to my friend Craig, who lives in Switzerland, runs your own little tech pubs company. Happy birthday, mate. I went on Facebook earlier and it said it's your birthday, and I feel bad because I haven't wished you the customary Facebook happy birthday, but I'm going this year for you, Craig. I'm going slightly a stage further. I'm wishing you live across the world a happy birthday, Craig. So next year you have to beat that for me. Anyway, so I cannot believe that this is already episode 6. We are on to episode 6 of all of our live thoughts and Thursday thoughts that we're doing here already. I'm getting slightly confused because we're slightly out of sync with our podcasts. I think our podcasts are up to 7 and our Thursday thoughts are at 6. So what we might have to do is try and bring them in sync at some point. So we're going to do the normal. We're going to go through and do the industry news updates, and then I'm going to do some TDW updates, and then I'm going to answer a couple of the questions that have come in. In fact, I'm going to answer probably one of the questions as I go along, just purely because it fits in nicely with some of the news that's going on. So if you want to get in touch with us, let me just pop that up again. I'll let that run for a few seconds. You know all of the social channels that we're on. So we're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, although we did have a little moan from somebody this week that I am not... it's on me. When I'm out and about, I'm forgetting to post things to Instagram. And so I will... I know that we've got a lot of you following us on Instagram, and in fact a lot of people I've never even heard of are following us on Instagram. I will try my very best to be a little bit more disciplined about using Instagram, especially as we have a couple of trips coming up over the next couple of weeks. Now let's clear that layer, let's change the camera angle, and let's start talking a little bit about some of the news that's come up. So again, I've tried to focus on the news that I think will affect us in technical information and technical publications, and you know, something that might happen down the line that you know, could get... There's some really interesting bits in here. There's some that's maybe not so interesting, but out of the 500-600 news items that we get every week, I have to kind of try and pick out the bits that are interesting, that I think are going to be interesting. So I will try and make it interesting in my normal Ingledew way. So UTC Aerospace has won a long-term on-site support contract with GKN Aerospace, and this is going to include all of that kind of, you know, it's for the Fokker side of the business. I've got to be careful how I say that. Is that you know, it looks like it's going to be a lot of the soft side of support as well. So by that I mean kind of the training and tech pubs and all that kind of stuff. In the same kind of vein, the T-58 and the CT-58 by Columbia Helicopters, they've been awarded a contract by GE Aviation to look at those. And Columbia for us, actually South America for us this week has been proven very interesting, and I'll talk about that when I come on to some TDW news later on. Now again, this calls out some soft support as well, and I call the soft support the kind of tech pubs, training, that kind of stuff. Now this I'm following with a with a great deal of interest, and I've heard of BYOD and BYOI and all those kind of things. This is a new one on me, BYOE, and this is bring your own encryption. Now it seems that Thales is, or Thales or Thales or whatever you want to call them, in the UK we say Thales. They are they're investing a lot of money in encryption technology, and in the article itself, and the next one that I'll mention, it talks about data and maintenance data and those kind of things. Again, all of these, when we write the blog article, we will put all of the links to all of these articles, so you can go and read the full detail yourselves in your own time. But it talks about how that as we move more and more to the cloud, as we move our information to the kind of, you know, the ether, what encryption's needed. You know, if you've not heard about blockchain yet, then, you know, maybe go and do a little quick Google and have a read about blockchain and how it's supposed to be that next level of encryption and data security on the Tinterweb. But the you know, they're talking about how those of you that want to use cloud-based solutions are now going to be able to use a Thales kind of encryption solution. So whether you're using Microsoft Azure, or whether you're using Amazon Web Services, or, you know, most of the hosted solutions that are out there today, they sit on either of those platforms. There are a couple of others, but Thales is investing in your ability to be able to take your own encryption engine to those providers. But that then fell nicely into this second article that I found probably at the beginning of the week, where one of the executives from Thales was talking about how cybersecurity is really now becoming the biggest threat to our aircraft, and to, you know, and they talk about, and they call out in the, they talk about in the actual article that how aircraft themselves, as they become more and more connected to the Internet of Things, and they basically talk about how, you know, those vulnerabilities are there, and, you know, how, and they call out maintenance data and support data, and how the aircraft are communicating with ground stations, how they need to, and how we need to protect this data and this information around our platforms. Rolls-Royce, doesn't seem to be a week that goes by that we don't talk about Rolls-Royce. Now, that's not because it's a British company and I'm a big fan of Rolls-Royce, and it's just because Rolls-Royce have made a call for partners. They're looking for partners that have expertise in artificial intelligence, augmented reality, Internet of Things, because they are investing in India, and they are going to take this technology to India, and they want to work with India on this capability. Now, this resonated with me for a couple of different reasons, but not only because I listened to an interview yesterday with one of the FTSE 100 CEOs, and they're basically saying that one of the, next week I'll try and find the interview and I'll post a link to it. They're saying anybody that doesn't put data at the heart of their business will fail, is what they're saying. Everybody is now wising up that data and information and content is the hub of any modern business. and this was one of these FTSE 100 guys, and he then also went on to say that everybody in the kind of technological fields are now investing in India. They and Rolls-Royce has and is continuing to invest in India, and there's some other announcements that I haven't included this week. There's Boeing, there's a couple of others are doing the same thing. But on the same kind of message, if you like, the diesel engine side of MTU, they've awarded the rights to assemble, maintain the some of their engines to GSL, and I just want to get that right, the Goa Shipyard Limited. Now, why is that interesting? Because I know the guys down in Friedrichshafen that produce the technical manuals that support these engines. It'll be interesting for me to find out if these guys are actually using ship decks. Again, I haven't tried contacting anyone just yet, but I will do. I'd be interested to know ship decks. Now, one of the questions that came in last week after Thursday Thoughts last week was somebody asked me what ship decks actually was. Now, if you think about S1000D, the 3,500 page specification or whatever it is it's a huge animal, and what some clever guys down in Italy have done, so that's SpecTech with Marco, if you're watching, and those guys, they thought S1000D is a great spec, but it's a huge animal. We only need a small portion of it. Let's take a small portion of it, apply it to commercial shipping, and we'll call it ship decks. So it's basically S1000D on a diet for shipping. And the same with rail decks. Rail has done the same, and there's some people I know are working on something called Rendex, which is renewable data exchange. So that's essentially what it is. But that's an interesting piece. This one I was pretty interested in because it's local to us here. It's literally 10-15 miles away down in Portsmouth, and BAE Systems are investing just shy of 14.5 million US into, if you've watched any of my other tutorials, and if we've put any of the sort of B-roll up, you've got the big ship on, we call it the ship on the hill. It's I think it's a Type 45 destroyer, and it's a mock-up, and they've got it up on the hill. And but BAE Systems are investing in the facilities around Portsmouth, and one of the articles actually says that the ultimate aim is to integrate into the product, obviously with all of the information and support information, is to integrate into the product the artificial intelligence capability is what they're now looking at for future generations of ships and maintenance. So, and I'm going to come on to some stats very, very shortly, because I think this is pretty interesting developments. Rolls-Royce again, but with Boeing, have invested in a new hybrid rocket, and this is for the space sector. Now, why have I pulled this out? Because here at TDW we're being asked more and more about, in fact we were asked recently to help somebody quantify the opportunity within the space sector for technical information, and I've been lucky enough to work on a couple of space or space-based programs, so that's Galileo and the ALMA project, and I thought this was pretty interesting because actually, as you follow Rolls-Royce, and if you're not following Rolls-Royce on LinkedIn and Twitter and all those things, I suggest you do it, because they're actually, although they've been in the news this week for obvious reasons with their long-haul engines being grounded on many aircraft or needing some extra maintenance checks, they're investing in lots of this kind of hybrid technology, which is going to be the next generation of engines, I'm absolutely sure. So that's actually really, really interesting read. This one I actually had to read twice and still didn't really understand what it was trying to tell me. But it's a press release, and I think it's Wayne Gafford that's in here. And Wayne, I think we've met, and it would have been a few years ago at some conference, no doubt. But basically, this is from the Naval Surface Warfare Centre, and it essentially talks about how information, be it maintenance, be it support, be it training, which I think is the emphasis of this release, how that's all coming together and how that will all be managed. And it calls out a common source database. It says a CSDB, but it basically says that for any product, this will now be at the heart of all products. But again, I'll put that down below, and you can take a look at that and read that till your heart's content. My friends over at MABS, you know who you are. Mega Air Braking Systems has just won a contract with South Korea. Why have I pulled this out? 100 aircraft are going to be fitted with some Meggitt braking systems technology and capability, which is obviously going to mean technical publications. Now, the interesting thing, and Ian, you might be able to help me answer this, is that I know that South Korea has been looking at S1000D. In fact, I know that there's a couple of programs that have implemented S1000D, and in fact I know SDL has been down in South Korea recently doing some training for some guys down there around S1000D and implementing that on some platforms. So it'd be interesting to know whether that's an S1000D project or not, but I'm sure I will get to hear in the fullness of time. This one came out of a major event that happened earlier this week, where Sikorsky, there's a huge Bundeswehr initiative underway at the moment, and Sikorsky has announced with Rheinmetall that they are going to respond, and it looks like Rheinmetall, who is the Rheinmetall Tech Pubs guys, are members of TDW, are going to take up the soft side, the technical publications, the supportability side of this contract. Again, link below. This for me was the most interesting article of the week. So a court decision in the United States has found that the FAA, and if you don't know who the FAA are, it's the Federal Aviation Authority, which is our European CAA, or our UK CAA, our European EAA, is it? I can't remember now off the top of my head. If anybody's online, give me a shout and tell me. I can't remember what it is. I think so. Anyway, so JAA. Anyway, so these guys they've been going through a court case, which I didn't actually realise was going on, and it turns out that they're saying the FAA is not obliged to force an aerospace manufacturer to supply maintenance instructions to any repair station. Now, what they're worried about in this particular article is they think that's going to kick off some kind of war. Now, if you work at the MRO level, you know that having the right information to maintain products is vital. Now, and for continued airworthiness, you have to have this information. You have to say that you've done it all in accordance with the latest manuals and latest information. But the FAA are saying they're not obliged to say to a supplier that you must give this maintenance organisation your technical manuals, which is an interesting piece of news. And I'm talking about in our next podcast, I'm talking about intellectual property, and this article I'm sure I will pull up again, because this is going to play nicely into that. But I know a number of the guys that I support in the supply chain are going to be very interested in that piece of information, certainly in the United States. And what the United States does, normally Europeans follow. So this I pulled out because of what I talked about earlier about how Rolls-Royce are investing in over in India on this whole artificial intelligence. This came out because the virtual and augmented reality market, they believe right now, is worth $3 billion US. Now that actually is not a massive amount of money. But what's interesting in the article is it says that that's a 71% growth rate in 12 months, which is phenomenal, which is huge. And you know, if anybody is ignoring this capability within their organisation, I think it's a little bit foolish. I think it's a little bit, you're being a little bit remiss, just not actually paying some attention to what this capability has and does and will do for product support in our industries and within our sectors. But that being said, Intel, in fact, I was just reading another article before I came online on this, has decided that this is actually something that they're not going to bother with. They had a sector where they had something called the Vaunt Smart Glass, and they have decided that they're pulling out. They're going to close that down. And actually their CEO, I'm not sure if that's the CEO, it could be, I don't know. He has essentially said, look, Intel invest in lots of different business areas. Some work, some don't, and we're closing this down. And I think that's just purely because things like the Microsoft HoloLens and all these kind of things have kind of really captured the market. And I believe that they're probably making a sensible decision. Focus on what you're good at, and they're good at making processors and chips and those kind of things. I mentioned this one a few weeks ago, Volkswagen, where they are going to be enabling all of their technicians with augmented lenses and headsets. This article came out this week saying they've started to roll them out. They've started to push them out. There is a marketing contact, so I will try my very, very best to get in touch with somebody. In fact, I would love Volkswagen to do an interview with somebody and have a look at that capability that you have. And it's in the UK, which, come on, play the game. Let's do this together. So coming on to some TDW news. The BMT Defence. Now, sorry guys, I've pulled this logo off your website, and I'm pretty sure you've changed your logo. So if you have, I apologise for using the wrong logo. You guys have renewed your support for TDW this year, and I just wanted to say wholeheartedly thank you. And I know that you guys are looking at taking a table at the conference this year. You guys are putting a lot of effort into augmented and virtual reality and lots of stuff. And I mentioned last week how you guys are getting involved in the government level think tank on commercial shipping. Steve and the guys, just want to say thank you. You guys make it, what we do here possible. It enables me to do what I love doing, which is this kind of stuff. And that goes for everybody who renewed their TDIQ subscription this week. I know there was a load of you that were due this week, and you've been working with Claire. Massive, massive thank you to everybody that renewed. So really appreciate that. Pulled this one off LinkedIn earlier, then I followed the thread through. Semcon, if you don't know who Semcon are, we've mentioned them over the last couple of Thursday Thoughts that we've put together, and they've acquired a German technical publications company, Has Publicationen GmbH, or GmbH to you and I. Not quite sure how that's going to pan out just yet. It says that it's going to be within their product information systems and those kind of things. They have some really interesting technology, the Semcon guys, and I'm sure that this will just strengthen their offering to the market. So yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting, pretty exciting. So we might just go about 40 minutes again this week, guys. I'm sorry about that. Magazine. I just wanted to say that the magazine last week, when we announced it, and then we put something on LinkedIn and we put something on Twitter, and went absolutely nuts. So ever since we've made this free of charge online, we have had an exponential amount of interest in people wanting to view it online. So we've had Zodiac Aerospace, we've had Alstom down in Brazil. I said South America was interesting for us. A couple of space companies in North America. Sorry, the name slips me at the moment. We've had Greece, we've had Stax in America. Ray, I can't remember your organisation. Is it NavAir, NavC? I can't remember what you are. But absolutely blown away by that. So everybody who wants free access to the magazine, just get in touch with us and we'll make it so. It will happen. TDW Live, we only opened registration last week, but I just wanted to pass the award on to Australia. You know who you are, who has signed up to the conference already. Quite how you got your organisation, the size of it, to agree to you to come so quickly, and I understand to pay the bill, is phenomenal. But anyway, I know that you've been to the event a few years ago, but it'd be great to see you again this year. You have won the award for the furthest away delegate that's going to be joining us. I look forward to seeing you again this year, and I'll even buy you a beer. How does that sound? So, but look forward to seeing you. Yeah, but anybody that wants to come to TDW Live, I know that we've had a raft of bookings from the MOD and Defence and those people. Innovation in Information, we've started taking bookings on delegates, the ones that are happening in Tamworth. So if you want to come along to that, please do get in touch with us quickly, because we are keeping the Innovation in Information deliberately small, so there's opportunity to play with the technology on display. TDW Live, of course, will be that little bit bigger and that little bit better. If you missed it this week, and I talked about why we had to get the air conditioning unit installed, I braved the heat in here, and I delivered a online live lesson via TDIQ this week. And to all of those that stayed on, I know some of you were in Germany and India, stayed on late to join that. I did about just over an hour on creating and defining a DMRL and SNS structures from a legacy manual. And the next live lesson, we will move on to how we then take that and make them into S1000D data modules, and how do we apply what we learned in lesson 1 to the next phase. So if you missed that and you're a TDIQ subscriber, it's available via your dashboard. It's all been recorded, warts and all. So we've not edited it. So there was a moment in the middle where I couldn't find a slide. We've left all that in, and you can go and have a look at that, warts and all, and enjoy that. I just wanted to mention, you probably see it behind me, the logo on the screen here, Tech Data Direct. Thank you to all the vendors that are working with us on this. At TDW, we receive a stack of requests for help. We've had 3 this week. One for training and services, and 2 for product and software. And these kind of increase. And we get, and certainly as we hit the middle of the year, this is kind of, if you look at the trends of our market, this is where we are at our busiest. So Tech Data Direct is all about an online interactive directory of our members, their products, their services, their capability. But not only that, is that when we receive an opportunity, we'll put it into Tech Data Direct, and all of our members will be automatically notified that there is a new opportunity available. That will be live in the next 7 to 10 days. We're working with some of you on functionality and capability, and thank you for the feedback on that. But I will mention that probably in the next week or 2, and introduce the link that's available on there, and you'll be able to make sure that your organisation is up to date with all of the products and services that you provide to the market. So I'm just making sure that there's no comments or anything coming in, guys. And so questions, we have had some. It's not been a massive amount of questions this week, which is great, which means that we're almost at the 30 minutes, which means I can ping through them. I was asked this week, when am I going to Germany next? I haven't made a slide for that. I am going to Germany in a few weeks' time. It's a little bit of business and it's a little bit of pleasure, although it will be the northern part of Germany. It won't be the southern part of Germany where you're based. And you asked also about the innovation in information for southern Germany. I've asked the team here to focus on getting Tech Data TDW Live rocking and rolling with all of the guys that are signing up to that already, and the focus on the innovation information here in the UK in July. And then as soon as they're kind of all stable, we've had an offer from some organisations to help us with a venue for an event in Germany, and we're still kind of working through that at the moment. And we had our first conference call last week, and they are offering us the use of their facilities in Germany. Haven't seen it. I understand it's based in southern Germany, but more on that to follow. So where do you get all your great news from? Well, I'm glad that you like the news, and trying to pull out the right and most relevant and interesting news is a little bit of a challenge. we subscribe to a number of different services, and the way that it works is that you basically pay a chunk of money to an organization. They track buzzwords and that kind of stuff for you, and every day they send us a link of news, list of news and that kind of stuff. And then after my tea, before I get on my spin bike, I go through all of that news and go, yep, I'll use that, yep, I'll use that, no, I won't use that. But I'm glad that you find that this level of information is interesting and useful to you. So thank you for that feedback as well. This one was great, and I've concatenated the question because I can feel the collective mug throwing and pie throwing around the world as this question came in. You did our TDIQ Introduction to DITA course. You are an expert in S1000D, you're an expert in ATA iSpec, and you wanted to learn a little bit more about DITA. So you went and did our online course, and you sent me a nice email saying, you know, nice course, nice introduction, all those kind of lovely things. But then you said it seems that DITA is actually better than S1000D, and I thought, ooh, so don't say that in public. You know, you're going to get yourself shot. The reality is that they do the same thing, but they do it differently. So it's all about how we produce information and deploy information, but they do it slightly differently. Where DITA really focuses on the content, the information, and S1000D is all about how do we apply information to a product structure and how do we apply information to a product. And depending on where you are and where you sit in what you need from your information, depends on, you know, which is, you know, works for you. I had a conversation this week with 2 rail companies, and you know, one is a massive supporter of S1000D or Raildex, and the other is using DITA, you know, and you know, they're providing rail carriages, etc., some of them to the UK. One's just been awarded, I think, to Australian company as well, some contracts down there. We will introduce some rail news, by the way. I just need to get my buzzwords fixed for that. But you know, it is an either-or question, but it's what is it you want from your information. So and to be honest, in your sector, S1000D, it's what your customer is telling you you will deliver. They're not going to turn around and let you start delivering DITA all over a sudden. However, that being said, I do know of organisations that are doing both. I know that there is a very, very smart company down in Switzerland that's doing S1000D for the components that they need to produce S1000D for, and they're using DITA for other stuff, and then they're integrating it all into an end product. So yeah, hopefully, I don't know if I gave you an answer, because they're not. It's not either or. There is an article in a legacy copy of the magazine where it talks about DITA versus S1000D, and if you go to our YouTube channel, I think on a very cold winter's day in Germany by a frozen lake, I did a tutorial on S1000D versus DITA, so maybe have a look at that. And I talked about also, which is available on TDIQ, where Mekon gave a presentation on how one of their customers, a rail customer, was using DITA, and it was quite an interesting presentation. So hopefully that will answer your question. I just wanted to mention that next week I'm doing a podcast on intellectual property protection, and make sure that you sign up to all of our channels on that. We do record it and put it on YouTube. Jamie then puts it on our podcast channel, and we have it on iTunes, and we have it also on Google Play. I don't know where we stand with Spotify. Jamie, I know you're watching. Where are we standing with Spotify? So let's try and figure out what we're doing with the Spotify thing. I'm just checking my notes, and I think, guys, really 4 minutes over. We're not doing too bad. I think we're pretty much there. So that's really all the news, reviews, and stuff that's going on from the world of technical information as far as we see it. What are your news? What's your comments? What's your thoughts? Just want to say thank you to everybody who was sending in your love for TDW. We've had some great comments like, I love the way you're disrupting the market. I love the way you're changing the market. I love the way you're freshening the market. You know, that kind of stuff. Thank you very much. We love the positivity. And, you know, is this the kind of content you want to see, you know, and hear? If it is, then let us know and we will continue to do it. If not, then we'll take a look at changing it. Let me just have a look and make sure that, you know, we are in a good place. So it looks like we are, oh actually, we are live on Spotify. Jamie's just checked. So we are live on Spotify, guys. So you can find us on Spotify, no problem at all. And that's good news. That's a great way to end my day. So I'm a little bit red-eyed. I'm a little bit dopey-eyed. I'm sorry about that. I've actually got a webinar I need to join at 8 o'clock this evening as well. Might need to try and catch a 2-minute snooze or something before that as well. So guys, I don't see any comments or anything. There's a stack of you on Facebook. There's a stack of you on our website is absolutely the busiest. Somebody has clicked the chat button in Gloucestershire. Who's in Gloucestershire that's watching? You've clicked the chat button, but you haven't said anything. So, okay, chaps, ladies, gentlemen, wherever you are in the world with my red eyes, I am going to pull this one to an end. I'll see you next week, and hopefully I won't be so tired. But anyway, chaps, chapesses, enjoy your technical information weekend, and I will speak to you next Thursday.